Yeah, remember to turn all my lights on. Okay, welcome to today's D&December video. It's the 17th video in a row, except for the two that I didn't have to record. Those are awesome. So today we're talking about why campaigns turn from the epicness and awesomeness of Lord of the Rings, or even the slightly silly epicness of, say, Conan the Barbarian, to Monty Python, the Holy Grail. The low bar in all of fantasy, where people use coconuts to simulate horses, and you have farcical aquatic ceremonies to choose monarchs rather than anarcho-collective syndicate. Yeah. So what I mean by this, basically the level of seriousness and epicness of a campaign tends to go down the longer you play it and the more people just hang out. Partially this is because, to be honest, you're playing with crazy characters running around in a fantasy world killing monsters that don't really exist. And up until recently, for the most part, it was sad, fat young guys sitting in their mother's basements with chips stuck in their beards and all that. You can't take this too seriously, because if you do, then you tend to also believe in things like Dungeons and Dragons turning you into demons and things like that, which is cuckoo. But that's fine. I mean, I'll admit I have been a seriously contributor to Monty Pythoning up the campaign. In my 3.5 campaign, I have Our Moon Song with bardic meta knowledge and the occasional comment about how the DM is just messing with us, or Meldarin sucks. Even though he was many campaigns ago and doesn't necessarily exist in this world, except he does. True story, every time I mention Meldarin, his campaign also happened to be the one where Aaron first was born. So, how can we reduce or at least limit Monty Pythoning the entire campaign into utter silliness? Like Camelot. Camelot! Camelot! It's just a model. Well, the first thing we can do is, remember, we're trying to tell a story, not just make incessant, constant jokes about anything and everything. I've seen some players are a little more guilty than this than others. But that's just because I view pretty much everything as silly. But I have also strived to find a character, find what motivates them, how serious they are in the world. My CNC campaign character, Prim, she was a rather studious and dour halfling. Surprisingly, she tended to take things seriously. She was mixture of sad and determined, and of course that eventually led to her dying and kind of being out there. I had Gwen, who was a gnome. She became paranoid because of all the traumas she suffered and all the crazy things that happened in that stupid campaign. Aaron, of course, never felt like she fit in because she was a 3.5 bard, and 3.5 bards suck. And right now in the current 5e campaign we're playing, my character Theo, he's very serious. He's dedicated to his god Lathander, and it essentially means that he is emotionally focused on things rather than just being la 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 la. Hair went a little bit wild there. I like that. Now, as I said, very often it's inevitable that you have to take the piss out of some of the seriousness of the campaign, especially when the DM is playing it so straight that you can't even see straight. So my advice, the biggest advice, is try to find your character, create their motivations, create what they want to do, create how they look at the world. And try not to metagame too much humor into the situation, unless you create a character that specifically metagames the hell out of everything, because that's what she does. Although, don't let the metagaming actually affect the game. Like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I remember this from many lives ago. We will go and hit them with this because my player peeked at the DM's notes. No, bad, Aaron, bad Aaron. Ow, that actually hurt. I hit myself a little too hard sometimes. I like it even more. So as for DMs, the easiest way to cut down on the metagaming is have the story, have your players become more invested in the story. Don't worry about having your epic story to tell. Give it to them in small chunks. Have an idea of what your story is, but let the story develop more organically. Don't try to force it in there, railroad them, hammer it home to the point that's like, you must walk this way. Or literally in a Demon Hunter's adventure where I literally railroaded the party, as in I put them on a railroad to guard something. Of course, I also threw Sharknadoes at them in that adventure. On the plus side, though, all the sharks were dead because Sharknadoes are bullshit. Of course, then again, that was also the adventure where I got to really mock Lars's character, Zap Kirkman, who literally face planted in gravel because Lars had to leave early for reasons. It was so fun. I get to make fun of it so much. So, yeah. So that's my simple advice. Expect the Monty Pythoning of your game to occur, but plan for it by working with the character's backstory, the players' desires, and try to not just force it into something super serious because we have to have everything serious. Let the players find the seriousness, because then it becomes more of their game. So I think that's pretty much all I could say. I'll leave it to anybody. If anybody has anything they want to share, other than Lars, who is pointing out that Camelot is a silly place and D&D makes us devil worshippers, I would love some more comments. So until next time, I will see you when I remember how to end the stream quickly.